Your settings in Warzone make all the difference in the world, from how you move to how you aim, and these settings right here help me get up to a 7 KD. Now, all I ask is if you enjoy the video, be sure to give it a like, subscribe with notifications turned on, and let's get into it. Now for our first setting, we're gonna be taking a look here at the button layout. I have tactical flipped on. You guys do not need to have tactical flipped, but I would recommend tactical. That way you are able to at least slide cancel by tapping in on your joystick. It makes a lot of sense. I personally play flipped because I grew up playing on PS3, PS2, PS4, and a lot of the games had us using the top bumpers instead of the bottom triggers. So that is kind of what I was used to, and for me it feels natural. I also like that it's a faster click in for majority people out there versus something that is used on the bottom. I think that's a little bit better in my opinion, so you guys don't have to do that, but tactical is something you guys should at least be playing on. Of course, my stick layout is just going to be on default. We don't really have to mess with any of that. Now my horizontal and vertical stick sensitivity, this is a 1.4. Roughly what this translates to is before they did that update where they changed it from 1 to 20 to 1 to 2.0, this actually is about a 6.6 sensitivity, roughly around there. This is what I personally like to play on. The best pro players in the world, the guys that actually win money, they don't play on a very high sensitivity. Largely speaking, a lot of guys don't play on a super crazy sensitivity. You might be able to play on one if you are a really good player, but generally speaking, a majority of people cannot handle a high sense, myself included. I don't want to play in a high sensitivity. I find myself becoming inaccurate, and I don't like that. I don't want to miss my shots. I like being able to get those comments where people accuse me of having a Cronus, sticky aim, something like that. That means my shot's looking real crisp and real nice, and that happens to be, something that has to do with my horizontal and vertical stick sensitivity. My simplified controls preset, that is off. This is going to be off. Bumper ping is off. And of course, this is what allows me to have it unflipped is I swap my LBRB with my LTRT. The Scuff and Vision shows up as an Xbox controller, even though I'm a PlayStation guy by default. I got used to the general buttons here, so that is kind of what it is. Now we can go on down here and we have the controller vibration on. I don't really even notice if it's there, to be honest, so you can turn it on, off. If it bothers you, turn it off, right? It's not going to make a big difference in your aim. It's genuinely not. But something that is going to make a big difference in your aim is going to be your input dead zones. So we're just going to go down here and we're going to click onto this. So we can see that my left stick minimum and my right stick minimum is at a 0. So this right here means that is the lowest amount of input possible for me to trigger something to happen in the game. Meaning that, as soon as I move my stick, even just a millimeter, something is going to happen in game. And that is personally what I want. You could probably, if you're not used to having a 0-0, it's going to feel real weird if you go down to a 0 after coming off of like a 10, a 5, or something else like that. I think the default is going to be like a 15. So if you're playing on that default 15, you're putting yourself at a big disadvantage. Try lowering it down to the lowest you possibly can go. It's going to help with your reactivity. It's going to help aim assist kick in, rotational aim assist kick in. It'll help you greatly. So lower it down as low as possible. Obviously, if you have stick drift, that's going to kind of hinder you a little bit, but that is what you should be, focusing on. Your left stick max, this should be at a 60. The reason being, this is the stick that we just move around with forwards, backwards, side to side, right? So we're not too concerned with having the full area to be able to be used. I want that 60% of when I flick that stick forward to that, area where it's now red on screen. That is going to be the absolute maximum input on my controller that is needed for me to, go into full automatic tack sprint, for me to go, let's say, side to side slide, something like that. I don't need that full area. That's just going to take longer for something to kick in. We don't want that, as it is just moving. It's not aiming. So I guess going over here, right stick max, mine's at a 99. I've had this at a 99. It goes to 100, but 99 has just felt fine for me. So it's kind of up to you guys what you want to do there, but you don't really want to lower this below 99. So this is going to be, of course, your aiming, stick. So the more area you have, the more precise you can be. So don't lower it any lower than what I got it. That's going to be a big disservice to you. So that is something to take note of. Just kind of follow exactly what I'm showing you guys right here. And then as far as your left trigger and right trigger, the reason I had this on 15 is because my specific controller has mouse click triggers. And if I don't have a dead zone on here, I will automatically stim shot, throwing knife. It's just they're so sensitive that they automatically click in sometimes. So I have to have a bit of a dead zone on here so they don't. Otherwise, it is literally a mouse click. It doesn't matter for me, but it's just to keep me from automatically doing that. It's kind of like stick drift, but for your triggers. Now in the aiming tab, we're taking a look here at the sensitivity multiplier. So we're gonna go ahead and hit that drop down. And the only thing we need to mess with is the ADS sensitivity multiplier right here. Everything else can be left at a 1.0. We don't need to mess with that. Mine is at a 0.65, which is gonna look really low to some of you guys out there, and rightfully so. It's at a 1.0 by default. I'd recommend if you're playing at a 1.0, dial it down to like a 0.9, a 0.8, a 0.7, something like that. There's just certain times where I felt like my aim was more off, and so I wanted to kind of dial it back, and I've gotten really used to playing. It was at previous 0.7, and I dialed it back to a 0.65, and I was like, oh, this feels about right. It's like sometimes they throw out a patch update, something else like that, and it feels like I need to dial it back just a little bit. So I've been sticking at a 0.7 for a long time. Now I'm at a 0.65. I probably won't go any lower than that, right? I'll stick here. But that is really what you guys should be focused on, because that takes your original horizontal vertical stick sensitivity, and when you're aiming, that basically gives you 0.65 or 0.7 or whatever of that sensitivity. So it slows you down and makes it harder for you in combination, you know, with aim assist to come off target. It's really going to help you out and allow you to track those targets better. It's going to greatly improve your game. Like, do not underestimate how much this will do something for you. Now we're going to go on down here to your aiming advanced settings. We're going to go in here and click on that. So basically your ADS sensitivity transition timing, this should be on instant. We don't want any delay, nothing like that. Just go ahead and put that on instant. Leave that on assist. Your aim response curve type, I'm playing on dynamic right now. I would say if you're going to choose between, you know, any of these three right here, dynamic, linear, or standard, playing either standard or dynamic. I've been playing with dynamic here for a little bit. It feels really good to me, so I'm sticking with it, but keep in mind just standard or dynamic is going to be better. I don't think linear works for the mass majority of people out there. So go ahead and do that. And of course we can hit that show more. This is just at a 1.0. We do not need to mess with your curve slope scale. What this does is that, for instance, let's say I have dynamic, which gives me an S curve, right? This, when I start messing with the curve slope scale, that'll take it from an S and start basically flattening it in closer. So that basically makes it more of a straight line as opposed to an S curve, which actually really helps you out. So you don't want to mess with that. Leave it at a 1.0. It's not necessary. It's one of those settings that is just completely unnecessary to mess with. So let's go on back here. Of course, our target aim assist is on. I mean, you're not going to be playing this game without aim assist. So put that on, ADS aim assist on. The best players in the world play with aim assist. So like, I don't know if anyone tells you that you're a bot for playing with aim assist. Listen, PC has their whole arm to be able to aim, and controller has their thumb. So we require aim assist. Granted, it is very strong, but that is what Call of Duty feels is acceptable. So we can go ahead and just kind of move on here to the next tab. Now in the movement tab, this is also very crucial stuff right here. We can take a look at our sprint assist. We're going to be playing on tactical sprint assist. That is your automatic tac sprint. That is what we really like. I'm going to go hit that show more. Our sprint assist delay is going to be at 0. We're not trying to have any type of delay. Basically, the less amount of delays and the more quick and fluid we can make this game via the settings, that is obviously better. So we don't want to have to deal with any of that. Sprint sideways on, sprint backwards assist on. We can keep that there. So we can go ahead and hit that show less. Actually, I'm just going to try and hit that show less there. Now for the mantle assist, I've been debating on actually turning this like from mantle to low mantle assist to off. Sometimes I mantle weird items. It's specifically, I drop in top prison on the edge in those little like fan things, whatever. And those little fan things, whenever I try to go up to them, I tend to mantle right over them instead of being able to stand on them and jump up top to those like two areas right there, the top prison, kind of by, you know, like Rat Tower, Grandma's. You guys know what I'm talking about. So I might turn this off, but it is kind of helps me out sometimes. So I'm just going to leave it as is. If you are going to play in low mantle assist, just keep this off, keep that off, tactical sprint only off, and mantle assist angle tight, just so that way you don't randomly mantle things. You want it to be so that you have to be directly looking at something, you know, when sprinting perpendicular to an obstacle. So you want it to be very like hard for you to guy to randomly mantle on something, so you can kind of just do that what you want. Crouch assist is going to be off. We don't really need any of this type of stuff. That's just not really going to be beneficial. I'm not sure why it makes me do that. Corner slice, that's going to be off. We do not want corner slice. I don't think it's beneficial. Like, you're coming around a corner, you can lean. Maybe you might be able to head glitch something kind of weird, but I've never been using corner slice. Don't find it beneficial. Not something I want in my gameplay. Now in your movement behaviors, this is very, very crucial. We're going to be playing on tap to slide. So we don't want to be playing on tap to dive, slide only, dive only. I think a hybrid's a bit hard to get a hold of. I just plan tap to slide because this is what works for me, and this allows me to do all my slide canceling, do everything I need to do, all the movement I need to do in game. I can do it very simply on tap to slide. So if you're not doing that, you guys are going to be having to go ahead and not slide cancel properly. I really wish this would actually just allow me to hit that show more without trying to reset everything. That'd be really cool, but we're just going to leave that pretty much on the default settings right there. Now, as far as going down here goes, your automatic airborne mantle, you can have this on partial, you can have this off. It doesn't really matter a whole lot. I might just turn this off so that way I don't really automatically mantle something. I might just go ahead and do that. Your sprint restore, you want this to be on. Slide maintain sprint, you want that to be on. Parachute automatic behavior, I keep this off so that way I can pull the parachute closer to the ground. Keep in mind you might curse splat, break your anks, but you know, you just got to pull the chute. I think it's better to do it that way. Mantle cancels reload, you want that to be on. And then of course your movement settings, we can go ahead and check this out here real quick. Our sprint tactical sprint behavior is going to be on toggle, not hold. Never want that on hold. That's not going to be beneficial. Auto move forward is off. That's going to be off. Grounded mantle, we can keep that on. That's pretty cool. Tactical sprint activation is single tap sprint. We don't want double tap, obviously, because we have the automatic tack sprint really going. So single tap is going to be fine. Single tap run, we don't need that. Single tap sprint is what you want. You want to be moving as fast and fluidly as possible. So that helps you out right there. Your plunging underwater can be trigger, sprinting door bash. Just keep that on. We don't want to have to open doors manually. That is just not going to be good. Then you'll be running at doors, trying to get away from somebody and just running into doors. Like, no one wants to deal with that. So now we can just kind of move on to the combat tab. Now this is equally as important in the combat tab as pretty much everything else. Your inbound sights behavior is going to be on hold. Of course, we don't want that to be on, what is a toggle? That's just ridiculous. We don't ever want that. Tack stance behavior is going to be on toggle. Tack stance activation, ADS down button. It doesn't really matter too much. I really don't ever go into tack stance a whole lot. This is just kind of default the way they've kept it from like MW3 over, like MW3 Warzone, I should say, over to BO6 Warzone. So you don't have to switch that up unless you're a real tack stance aficionado and you love going to tack stance. You want to make it a little bit easier on yourself. I don't see a reason to switch this up. It doesn't really make sense. Weapon mount activation can just be ADS melee. I don't really ever mount up too much. Body shield finishing move, I prioritize the finishing move because I don't really ever go for the body shield. Not like my gameplay style, not my cup of tea. If you want to troll a little bit, I mean, hey, go ahead and switch this to whatever you want. But overall, I just prioritize the finishing move because I want to do that as like an insult to injury thing, especially if I take out like a YY nerd, someone that's like spinning around, missing all their shots. I just want to hit a finishing move on them, not really do all the extra BS. Armor plate behavior, you want this on apply all. That is absolutely huge. You want to make sure that you actually have this on, so that way you hold the button once to apply, and then it applies up all of your plates. Very, very nice to be able to have. C4 detonation activation can be all at once, one by one. Not really going to matter. I mean, I don't really ever use C4, but you can put that one by one. Maybe if you go over to Big Map Verdansk and you're tossing C4 at something, you want to detonate it at once instead of like, or one by one instead of all at once. That could be more beneficial that way. Equipment behavior is just going to be on hold, and now we can go here into the combat advanced settings. So change zoom activation, sprint, tack, sprint, focus. Weapon mount exit, you just want to put that basically in either short delay or instant or whatever. It's not going to basically matter too much. Your interact / reload behavior, this really matters. Prioritize interact is what you need. You're not going to be going ahead and using tap to reload, tap to interact. Prioritize reload, prioritize interact. This allows you to loot very quickly, pick stuff up. If you're by a bunch of loot, then you just basically have to hold, you know, your square or X to be able to actually reload, and kind of sometimes can irritate you a little bit, but overall it is a much better setting than be able to having to like hold to pick up something, hold to pick up something. That makes you very, very slow at looting, and you're just gonna die. So we don't want that. Sprint cancels reload. You want that off because that just makes it very cumbersome to have to get a reload in. Sometimes you actually reload and like run very, very fast in this game, so we definitely don't want that on. And then your kimbo behavior should be on independent, and then this can be off, and depleted ammo switch can be on. That just helps you every now and again. It shouldn't happen too often, but it's nice. Now, very quickly, I'm going to show you guys a couple of settings that aren't controller related, but will make a big difference in your game. I believe your field of view should be on 120. This helps you out greatly, be able to see everything else around you. Everyone's got access to field of view, so go ahead and switch that. Of course, we're going to be in here in the graphics tab underneath view. ADS field of view should be unaffected. That means that you're not going to like be zooming in from 120 to 80 when you ADS. Not good to have. your field of view, your weapon field of view should be on wide. That makes the weapon look a little bit smaller. We don't want the weapon taking up more of our screen than it needs to. That's just not beneficial. Prevents you from seeing what's going on around you. It doesn't look weirdly small unless you're really used to narrow for whatever reason. I don't know why you're playing on narrow, but go ahead and change that. That could be at 90. And then world motion blur, you want this off. 100% weapon motion blur, you want that off. And this right here, first person, third person camera movement, put this down to least. This will make all the difference in the world, because you know, when grenades or precision airstrikes or anything else comes in, your camera movement is going to be moving the least possible. You know, we don't want it shaking all around, jostling. Like that's not beneficial. It prevents us from seeing what's going on in the game. To combine that with, you have motion blur on everything, I mean, you're not going to be able to see anything. So turn that down 50%. We don't need any of that crap. Inverted flashbang can be right there, and that can be left as is. Now for the last setting, I want to show you guys this. It's going to be the interface tab. This is really going to help your game look more colorful. So go to interface, go to the readability tab, all the way down to the bottom here, color customization. What we're going to do is you can see how you can mess with all your colors. So if you wonder how someone has a custom, you know, HUD color palette, this right here is how you do it. I play on default because I like the way things look by default. Don't really care to change things. Not my cup of tea. What really does matter is no matter what you switch this stuff to, is down here your color filter settings. You want this to be on filter 2. There's of course 3 filters to choose from apart from none, so put that in filter 2. Color filter target should be on both, and your world color and interface color intensity should be at 100. This is going to make your game look significantly more colorful and really help you out. So go ahead and do that. Apart from, you know, my gameplay's looking nice because I have a tiny bit of color correction. I don't have any NVIDIA filters, nothing. I just play with the color customization, and that's going to be it. So that's all I got for you guys here today. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like, subscribe, check out this other video on screen. I'll see you all next time.